Hello, it's Jeanette with Amazing Paper Crafts. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I actually have a techniques video to share with you, and that's how to make this little wreath here using the detailed trio punch. Okay, and you're thinking, what? But it's really not that difficult to do. You just need to make yourself a template and a stencil. So I will be right back and I will show you how I made this card. So to start with, you're going to need to make yourself a template, and if you don't already have one made, but this template, this is how I made it. I took a 4-inch square of Whisper White, the thick cardstock. Okay, you can also use the thick Very Vanilla. And what I did was I made sure to put an X in it on the corners as perfectly as I can, and then a T or a cross from the middle of each point. So this is like 2 inches, and you could even help use your grid paper to help you line things up. And so once I've got the lines drawn, then I took the second to the largest of these stitched shaped framelits, the square. And what you do is you line this, so you line this up on the corners of your die. You line it up on the lines, and you take it to your die cutting machine, your Big Shot, and you cut it out. And then when you come back, you line it up this way along the X, and then you cut that out. And the more perfect you are, the more perfect your wreath is going to be. So the first cut I made, this is what I cut out, and I'm going to be using this to make a stencil using my detailed trio punch. Okay, so all I need to do is just punch the corners with that little 3-leaf floral. So I'm going to make sure that I've got all 4 corners punched. Okay, and when you're using this punch, make sure you punch in the middle. It punches much better. So now I've got a template here. Now I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus. I'm just going to be using the platform here, okay? And I'm going to take my template and put it right in the corner. But before I do that, I need to take a piece of Whisper White. This is what I'm going to be using for my little wreath. So I'm going to put that down first, okay? And I'm going to put that right in the corner there. And then I'm going to put my 8-sided stitched square die, and I'm going to put my heavy-duty magnets on each of these corners to hold it down. And so now I've got this template here that is fitting perfectly here to make my wreath. And what I'm going to use is a sponge dauber, and I'm going to use some Pacific Point because that's the beautiful blue that is in this designer series paper, and that comes from the Garden Impressions stack. I believe it's called Garden Impressions 6x6 designer series paper stack. Okay, so I'm going to take my my sponge dauber, and I'm going to tap it into the let's move it down this way so you can see what I'm doing, okay? And you could do your tapping, or you could do a rub. I kind of like to do a little of both, and I'm not too worried about getting you know, ink on the template. It doesn't really matter to me. I'll probably make myself another template, another stencil, because that's basically what I'm using it for. See that there? Now I can be a little bit neater. I'm going to just I'm going to turn my my little stencil here to fit in the opposite square corners, and I'm going to tap down, rub a little bit, tap down, rub just a little bit, try to hold down that stencil, rub a little bit, make sure you get in all of those little crevices of that stencil. Don't rub too hard because you don't want to wear out your sponge dauber. Okay, and now look at that. Let's take this out. And I know I was a little bit messy, but that's what I came out with. Isn't that cute? Okay, so then the next thing I'm going to do to make the card is I'm going to take the larger of the stitched stitched squares, the largest one, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut this on my die cutting machine, my Big Shot, and I will be right back. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp a sentiment right in the middle of this. I know it's a little bit messy, but I'm still going to go with it. All right, and I don't really need my Stamparatus to do that. I'm going to try to make it nice and even, but if it doesn't come out even, well, let's just see what it does. Hopefully my head won't get in the way when I do this. Well, it is kind of crooked, so I decided that I would make myself a little tag here with the same sentiment, and I used the die cut, the die from the Petite Treats framelit dies. In fact, that sentiment is actually from the Treat Time. It says, "Thank you for being so sweet." Okay, and then I used this little decorative label here for the inside. This is such a cute set. I love it. I love it for the sentiments. And so since I didn't do it a very good job stamping in the middle, I decided that I would just go ahead and just put this up here, okay, like that. But I'll bring it up with Stampin' Dimensionals. And now I've got a piece of Pacific Point cardstock here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the largest of the scallops, the scalloped squares. Okay, we got layering square framelets, and I'm going to take the largest scallop die from here, and I'm going to go ahead and take that to the Big Shot, and I will be right back. Okay, so now it's time. Put these things away so I don't lose them. Now it's time to go ahead and adhere this to the scallop square, and I'm just going to go ahead and use some snail adhesive for that. Try to get it in the center the best I can. Okay, let's see what we got here. That's good enough. Now let's take this square, which measures a 4-inch square, and our base measures 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and I'm going to go ahead and put this designer series paper on here. Let's try to get it nice and even on all 4 sides, and then I'm going to go ahead and, now I could pop that up on dimensionals if I wanted to. I'm just going to go ahead and put that right here in the center, if I can get it centered perfectly, which I can usually never do unless I'm taking my time, but I'm trying to hurry for the video. And then I'm going to just take some Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm just going to put a couple on here to pop this up. Now I could also like color the edges of this if I wanted to. Let me do that real quick. I'm just going to just very, very lightly color the edges with my sponge dauber. Okay. Very, very lightly. And now I'm going to put this over that label that over that stamped that I didn't do very well. Okay. And there we go. There's our card. Isn't that cute? Okay, so I hope that you will try this little stencil idea that I came up with. I don't know how I did that. It just sometimes just rolls around in my head. But I thought this designer series paper matches really nice with the Pacific Point, which is one of the colors that are in there. So like I said, I hope I taught you something. And I hope that you will visit my blog and website, www www.geoamazingpapercrafts.stampinup.net. I always have a hard time saying it. I should shorten my website name, shouldn't I? But anyway, I'm Jeanette with Geoamazing Papercrafts, and if you need any of the supplies, please go to my website. And you make it a great day. Bye-bye.